Have you ever wondered what might have been? I get the chance to talk to many people every week who are in real estate, they're plugged in real estate, and they're looking to join the deal room. And myself or Yaden, we have these onboarding calls and we get to hear their stories and what they've been working on, what they want to do. And I get to meet a lot of really, really cool people. But I hear the same thing over and over again where they're stuck because of this one reason I'm going to dive into. And it's the same reason why I was stuck. And I want to just change your trajectory, change your thinking on how you're approaching real estate so that maybe this can help you. I talked to a guy earlier today. He's a wholesaler and he's a house flipper, and he's got, I think, like 22 houses that he either owns or is flipping at the time. He's running wholesaling, running leads, et cetera, and he's making good money. He said his average profit on a flip was, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000, but you know, there's carrying costs, there's overhead costs, et cetera, and that's eating into that. And so while he's making a good living, he's working his butt off and he's continuing to have to churn out the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. I think of myself as a contractor, go out there and sell a kitchen rehab, go out there and sell a custom home, get the job done, earn the money, make the next deal happen. And I think the reason we do this is because we need to keep the lights on. We're forced into this. And if you're in this situation, I don't want to make you feel bad about that, because you've got to take care of your family. You got to pay your mortgage. You got to pay your light bill, pay for your college, kids college and sports and everything else. And if you're not making money every month, you're going to be in significant trouble. But on the flip side, I look at people that I want to emulate. I look at businesses that I want to be like, and they somehow were able to make a transition, and I call it escape gravity. If you see some of my stuff, I have the Moon Man. The Moon Man represents escaping gravity. And so how do we escape gravity, and why do we want to escape gravity? What does that look like? So I had a call last week with another dude, and he'd done every type of deal imaginable. RV parks, he had flipped trailers, he'd done houses, he'd done hard money loans, he'd done all sorts of crazy stuff in real estate, pretty much everything that you can think of. And he told me a story. He said 10 years ago, he was flipping houses and so was his buddy. And I believe that they were even business partners. And about 10 years ago, his friend sold off all of the assets that he had. He had some single family rentals. He stopped focusing on flipping homes, and he bought a great deal in Las Vegas, Nevada. He bought a 172 unit apartment complex, and this was back in 2009 or 10. And if you think back, Las Vegas was really a really terrible place to invest in 2010. It got massively hit by the recession. It's a travel destination, obviously, and those kind of areas really get hit by economic downturns. And Las Vegas was one of the worst markets that got hit by the financial crisis. So this guy, he made a bet, and he went in there and he bought a 170-something unit apartment. And I think that launched him on the course to buying more real estate. And, you know, that was back, 15 years ago now at this point. The person I was speaking with, he said he continued on the path. He kept flipping houses. He kept staying into real estate, doing one deal at a time, making 20, 30,000 here, 20, 30,000 there, and just kept marching on with what he knew and what he was comfortable with. He says his friend is in a much different place than he is now. Right, that 172 unit he still owns, as well as a couple others. He's making massive amounts of cash every month. I think these buildings are, you know, maybe not paid off, but his debt is super low because he bought them 15 years ago. And his rents have gone up, and the Vegas market came back, and he made that one bet that is now really funding a lifestyle where he's legitimately at this point making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. He drives a $700,000 Lamborghini. He's got an awesome mansion. He's got a lot going on, because 15 years ago, he decided, I'm going to play the long game. And as someone that owns and operates apartment complexes, I can promise you the first couple years of that guy's switch were not easy. Person A, we'll call him John, and the guy with the apartments, we're going to call him Tom. So initially, John is outstripping Tom. He's still flipping houses, he's buying up foreclosures, he's fixing them up, he's selling them, he's making a couple $100,000 a year, he's got a better lifestyle than Tom, he's got less risk than Tom, he's got more freedom maybe than Tom. Tom has bought a distressed apartment complex, he's dumping cash into this thing, he's trying to get the rehab up, he's trying to get his occupancy up. It's probably a fight. Probably was 50% occupied and he's just creeping and scrapping and scraping along to get it to 60%, 70%, 80%. And the whole time it is sucking his money. And Tom is really just living on the edge for a couple of years to make this work. Now, in 5 years' time, Tom's got this thing stabilized. Maybe he's going to refinance it into better debt, pull his cash out that he initially dumped in there, and he's got a little bit of a war chest to work with, maybe to buy his next deal. His apartment complex, now the rents are way higher than he thought they were going to be 5 years. Now, let's go back over to John. John, still doing the same thing. He's still making decent money, a couple $100,000 a year, but he's working for it. He's working very, very hard, whereas Tom is now at 90% occupancy on his apartment complex. He still has debt, he still has expenses, but he's cash flowing $10,000, $12,000 a month off this thing. And yes, his lifestyle is not lavish, but he's making enough to really only have to do that, and he's not concentrating on, let me go find the next deal, let me go rehab another house, let me go flip that house so I can make another $20,000, $30,000. He's focused on, let me go find my next acquisition, let me continue to build a portfolio, and let my apartment complex just do his thing. Let's fast forward another 5 years. Now we're 15 years into it, and we're going to say today is present day. John has woken up. He's like, I chose the wrong path 15 years ago. And even though I wish I had started 15 years ago, I'm going to start now. I'm going to start today. I saw the path Tom took. That was the better path. And I'm going to delay gratification, and I'm going to focus on this somewhat so that I can start this journey. I still got to keep the lights on, but I want a different future, because if I don't start now, I'm going to wake up at another 15 years are going to slip by. And now I'm, 65, 70 years old, and this is not where I wanted to be. Still chasing the next deal, chasing that quick cash, that quick grab, that quick dopamine hit. I want to win. I want just to funnel my lifestyle, and I don't mind working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, because that's all I know, and that's what I'm comfortable with. He's willing now to finally get out of his comfort zone, because let's look at Tom's life. 172 units, almost paid for. At this point owes maybe less than $1 million on the property that is now worth $100,000 a unit. We're talking a $17 million complex where you owe $1 million. These are collecting, think about this, $150,000 to $180,000 a month in rent. Now, Tom still has management costs, he still has taxes, he still has insurance, he still has to upkeep his building, and that's going to take away maybe half of it. But he's still netting, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 per month every single month that rolls along, month after month after month, while he's working a couple hours a month on the asset management and making sure his property stays full. He's utilizing this cash as fuel to fuel future purchases, to fuel future renovations, to improve his property even more, to tune up those rents. And it has become a flywheel that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because at this point, 15 years into the game, that is not the only asset that he owns. On top of that, he has something that he could liquidate if he's just like, I don't want to fool with this anymore. Liquidate, put 13, 14, 15 million dollars into the stock market, into a money market, into a debt fund. We have a debt fund that's paying out 10% on amounts over $1 million. So, 15 million, that's $1.5 million per year with literally no work. Now he's really living the lifestyle. He's traveling, he's going to Paris, he's going to Disney World, he's doing whatever he wants, And he doesn't even have to spend all the money. There's too much money coming in every month. And so he's investing that, he's portioning off, and he's continuing to grow and expand. And it's a flywheel that keeps on expanding without him saying, man, if I want to make more money, I've got to work another 10 hours a week. I've got to work another 10 hours a week. I've got to work another 10 hours a week. And this is the difference between building a legitimate business, something that has intrinsic value, that will run on its own, and that you can sell for a profit in the future, and you have a line of buyers willing to buy that business from you, or the flip side of you're making money along the way. You're making cash flow, maybe even better cash flow initially, but the only way that that cash flow comes is through your sweat, through your toil, through your labor, and you putting in function X to get function Y. And newsflash, your business is worthless, because without you, the secret sauce, the rainmaker, the deal flow stops. The private money flowing in stops. The deals being sold and rehabbed on budget and on time, that all stops because your prospective buyer knows that you are the key man or woman that's making all of this happen. And without you, there is no value. Why would they buy your business when within, a month or two, they could learn what you're doing and step into that? Because you're at the lowest hanging fruit of the real estate world. The lowest hanging fruit is wholesaling, single family flips and single family rentals. That's where everybody starts. That's where everybody wants to go. And that's the most competition, and that's the least sellable business. I hear horror stories all the time of successful wholesalers who've trained up an acquisitions guy and they leave, right? Because what's the barrier to entry? They could go do this on their own. You taught them all your secrets. You taught them everything you know. Why couldn't they just go do this on their own? And they do. And now they're your competition. And now the workload on you has now doubled. This guy that you trained up and taught everything has now left you. You're on your own. Or they go out and flip houses on their own. Or they go out and start to acquire their own single family rentals because it's just too simple. It's just too easy. The hardest stuff to get, the more complicated the stuff is to do, the less people there are doing it. You may think about buying an apartment. Maybe that's intimidating to you. To buy a 24 unit for, $500 or $1 million, $2 million. Like, wow, how would I get that loan? How would I get that down payment? How would I operate it? How do I even know what this deal is worth? How could I analyze it, underwrite it, make an offer? Would brokers take me seriously? And all those are real viable problems. Good. Those problems are preventing the hordes, the masses from piling into this opportunity because it's just one more level up of difficulty. And because of that, there's less people. There's the fruit at the top of the tree. It's the hardest to get, but it's the most plentiful. And it's probably the best. It's not the stuff down at the bottom that's picked over and is rotting and falling on the ground. It's the best. It's the premium. But it's hard to get up that tree. You got to build a ladder. You got to climb up the ladder. Then you got to climb the rungs. You got to become a master at your craft and really know what you're doing. But it's worth it. Not all businesses are created equal. Going back to my contractor company, my construction company was very difficult. It was hard to get, well, I say it was difficult, but it really wasn't. It was like, what was the barrier to entry? Anybody with a pickup truck and tools could step in and start doing construction. Within a year or two, they could get their builder's license and bam, now they're my competition. A lot of people do construction because it's a low barrier of entry to get into. And because of that, you are not building a sellable business. For the most part, if you're just a mom and pop contractor with a truck and a couple of employees and you're doing $1 million, $2 million a year in revenue, you don't have a sellable business. I know this because I was in that situation. And when you go out to market, who's going to buy your business? Your competitors, they're going to buy you out. They've already got 1 million fires and problems. They don't want your problems. They don't want your issues. They can barely manage the team they've got and the amount of workload that they have. They don't want to buy your crappy company. Sorry if the truth hurts, but that's just the way it is. And so there are no real buyers for that. The only option is to maybe train up an employee, sell it to them owner finance at a heavily discounted rate. I ran my company for 15 years, generating a couple $100,000 in profit a year, a few $1 million in revenue. I sold it for like $300,000. That was the most I could get for that company. Think about that. 15 years of my life, and yes, it made me a living along the way, but the end result, the end business was basically worthless. So now when I look at an opportunity, I think is there going to be residual income? Is there going to be a long-term wealth building facility in this business? Is this something that I want to pour a year, 2 years, 5 years of my life into? Is it going to be worth it? That's all an apartment complex is. It is not a single family home. It's not real estate in that sense. It's a business. It's a business because, it depends on how well you operate it, how profitable it is. That's what people will pay you for. And it's a business that's easy to buy, fairly easy to buy, fairly easy to operate and scale, and fairly easy to sell. There are people lining around the block to buy multifamily. That's cyclical. There's markets that are hotter than others. But if you price your multifamily at a good price, somebody's going to be willing to pay you for that and buy it from you. And so I think about, what am I trying to achieve here? Do I want cash flow off my real estate? Absolutely. Yes, I do. Do I want to make money every month? And I need to make money every month? Yes, I do. And I've got to supplement that because apartments are a long-term game. But that aside, right? I know that I'm going there, and I'm 5 years into that. I am there, right? I don't have to work construction anymore, and I've escaped gravity in that sense. But what's really exciting is where we're starting to go with the properties that we've owned for 4 or 5 years. Let me give you a case study example because this is happening in real time right now. Back 4 years ago, we purchased 73 units in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. Heavily distressed property. It was 50% vacant, and the other half of the tenants weren't even paying. When we bought that property, we were only collecting about, $15,000 a month in rent. Okay, and it needed $1.5 million in rehab. So the owner is stuck. They want to sell it, but it's really not performing very well. They don't have $1.5 million in cash to recapitalize the project and finish it up and get it leased up and make it really worth what it's worth. And so what do? They got to sell it at a discount. And even in that situation, they still made money. They'd owned it for 20 years and we bought it from them for $2.5 million. We put another $1.5 million into it from the bank rehab, and we bought that. And we actually bought it with no money down because we made the seller carry $1 million note behind the bank as part of that purchase. So we ended up walking into that deal with no money down. It was myself, Yaden, and 2 other partners that owned this deal. They helped us get the loan at the time. We did the work. So we're going through this deal, and it was hard. It took all the renovation money from the bank and then some. We had to inject capital into them. Some years we didn't have enough to pay the taxes. It was a struggle to finish up these renovations, to get this baby leased up to 90+% occupancy, and to get there. Well, now we're there. We've got there. Okay, we are at 95% occupancy. All the units are rehabbed. We're refinancing tomorrow. Literally, loan got approved by committee last week. We're refinancing tomorrow. They're taking out the first bank. They're taking out that seller note. They're giving us an additional $400,000 in cash out refinance proceeds. And the building appraised for $7 million, $7.1 million. And our new loan is $4.1 million. Okay, so we're going to take that $400,000 and we're going to delay gratification again. We're taking that $400,000 or pushing it towards those other 2 partners and buying them out. They own 28% of that deal, and they have accepted a buyout agreement to relinquish their equity and give it to me and Yaden, and we're bringing Crystal in on the deal. So at this point, between Yaden and myself and Crystal, we now own this deal 100%, no investors, with $4.1 million of debt, and it's worth $7 million. Now here is where it starts to get really exciting. This is a 25-year note, right? So we have a mortgage payment. Every single month, we're amortizing, killing off that debt to the tune of, a couple $1,000s. In owning it for 4 years now, we've amortized like $300 and something thousand worth of debt already, paid off by the tenant base. We partnered with a nonprofit that reduced our property taxes by 80% by doing that one thing. And you can do that in South Carolina and North Carolina. If you're listening, hit me up. I'll tell you how to do it. You can partner with a nonprofit and you can reduce your tax liability to nothing. You got to make a donation to the nonprofit, but it will severely reduce your tax burden. In doing that, we have $3 million worth of equity, but we've delayed the gratification so we can buy them out 100%. Now get this. what does real estate appreciate per year on average over the last 50 years? If you know real estate, you're probably saying to the radio or your phone or whatever you're listening to this on, 3%. What is 3% of $7 million? It's $210,000 of appreciation every single year, compounding every year. This is on top of it spinning off, $80,000 to $100,000 a year in cash flow above and beyond our debt service. So you're talking about generating $300,000+ every single year, $100,000 in cash and $200,000 in appreciation. You can't earn that. You know how hard it was for me to earn $200,000 a year in my construction company? It was a lot. 40, 50, 60 hours worth of work. Every time I went on a vacation, I'm stressed out, my phone's blowing up, I'm having to worry about clients, employees, workers' comp, everything else. I'm in a very, very different place because I own a legitimate business that is appreciating in value every time those rents go up, every time the market improves, every time I make a loan payment, my debt burden goes down. Every single month, like clockwork, my net worth increases. This is the long game. This was 4 years of headaches to get to where I am today, and I'm really excited about this deal. I'm really excited about this win. And buying at my other partners is basically like taking down a whole nother apartment complex because we're absorbing 28% of the equity of that deal in doing this in this cash out refi. And this is the things that you can do in real estate. So if you're there listening to this and you're stuck in the trenches, whether it be a corporate W-2 job, whatever, whether it's a small business that you own that is not serving you, whether it's flipping real estate, wholesaling, and you're not building the intrinsic value, go down the road 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. What does your flipping business look like in 15 years? Go down the road. What does your construction company look like in 10 years? Is it really going to get there? Yes, you're going to make cash flow along the way, but are you building something? I want to get paid multiple times. I want to get paid along the way, but I want to make sure that I'm in a vehicle that is going to pay me at the end of the day. Because this 70-something unit, it's only one. We're in the same situation with our 42 unit in Lexington. We owe, I think, 1.7 on that. It's worth 3. All the investors are paid off, and it's just cash flowing and paying down debt and appreciating in value. We got a 34 unit in Ohio, same situation. Stabilized into permanent debt, investors paid off, cash flowing and paying down debt every month. We've got another 19 unit in Moncks Corner, same situation. We've got a self-storage facility in Moncks Corner, same situation. We've got a property in Houma, Louisiana that we're still going through the ringer on. We only owned it for maybe a year, but it's on the path. It's on the trajectory to get there. And initially we were going to flip that property. But it's turning out so well and easy to operate, and it's cash flowing and doing great that, hey, we could go to the refinance event, we could pay back all the investors and buy them out. Instead of us taking the cash at the refinance or selling it off and taking cash, we can delay gratification, buy out the investors, own the property 100%. These are the kind of things that you need to be thinking about long term, because if your business vehicle is not building intrinsic value, you're working on the wrong thing. And it's never too late to get started, but don't let another 5 years slip by, 10 years slip by until you pick your head up and say, wow, I should have at least focused 10% of my time on this, 20% of my time. Yeah, I got to keep the lights on, but I want to go somewhere different. And if I don't start, and I don't start like opening my eyes to opportunities, educating myself about this, building relationships in this field, I'm never, ever going to get there. And I don't want to be here forever. Begin as you mean to go. Where do you want to go? You've got to begin today to start making incremental changes to open yourself up to those opportunities, because I really like thinking about my future now. I like thinking about that Moncks Corner property in 15 years when the debt's paid down to, $1 million, $1.5 million. My rent roll right now is at, we're collecting, $70,000 to $80,000 a month. In 15 years, it's possible that I could be collecting $150,000, $180,000 a month, with my debt service being very, very minimal, maybe $50,000, $60,000 a year. And the rest, well, after expenses and all, but profiting $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in profit a month, bringing that in, splitting it with Yaden and Crystal, no big deal. But this is really funding my lifestyle 15 years ago. And I promise you, no custom home could ever do that. No flip could ever do that. No business that I was building was going to get anywhere close to that. The end of that was just go get the next job, go out there and kill and eat, find the next client, and do the work. So hopefully this has inspired you to think a little differently. If this is something that you want to dig into, you want to look into, you're like, Jennings, I've got to get on a different trajectory. Hit me up, shoot me a DM, message me, or go to MFMIM, My First Million in Multifamily, MFMIM.com. Book a call with me. We can talk about the deal room. The investment of the deal room is $397. It's minimal. It's something that you got to have so you have skin in the game, but it is not something that is unattainable. So go to that website. Let's book a call. We're closing deals every single week out of the deal room. We've got 18 closed deals just this year. We closed 102 last year. We closed 93 the year before that and 76 in 2022. The amount of deals coming out of the deal room through this program is frankly unbelievable because we partner accountability with the network, with the training, real-time data on what you're working on and how I would structure that deal, what I would pay for that deal, what I think your expense ratio should be. If this is something that you should go forward with, or this is something you shouldn't really pursue. And then when you do have a viable deal, the people that you need to help that thing get closed and get the loan and get the down payment, that's all there in the deal room, coupled with the accountability aspect of people coming around you to help you stay on course and do the things that you've committed to do so that you can unlock your life. That's what I got for you this week, guys. Have a great day. Make it count. Talk to you soon. Peace.